Hello everyone and welcome to Forsythe Insights, a series of videos that I hope to use to bring people into our musical community and hopefully start a dialogue amongst us musicians. I know you guys are familiar with this staggeringly popular series right by now, so let's jump right in with episode 3. Today I want to talk about the rock star classification. What is it? What does it mean? Who gets to fall within that classification? How do we use it and why? I think back in the 70s and 80s when you were talking about rock star, people knew you meant Led Zeppelin, or they knew you meant, Bullet Boys or Def Leppard or any of these super big pop guys, right? But nowadays, I think that classification has widened and allowed more people in. So I kind of want to narrow it down and let's think about what being a rock star is and what it means. And to do that today, I have brought along a little diagram. I had some engineers at NASA draw it for me, and a drumstick to point at said diagram. So let's jump right in. Is a rock star all about being well known, being popular, being famous? And if so, how does that apply to the clique or the region or the hemisphere you're in? So let's say we got Bobby on the bicycle over here. Everybody knows Bobby from the neighborhood. He once jumped his dad's Corolla. He has notoriety, okay? In the small sense of things, in his little neighborhood, he might be a rock star. The most famous kid in his neighborhood. And then you get to the extreme side, someone like Genghis Khan, very famous tyrant or ruler, depending on what side of the fence you are, conquered everything in the old world. So he has a very, very large amount of notoriety. Now, do I consider Genghis Khan a rock star? Maybe, but let's narrow the term a little bit, because in his day, for one, the term didn't exist, and also if we're applying that to him, then of course the term could just really be thrown around to anybody who's ever been famous, good or bad. So maybe it's about attitude. So here we have, Tim. He may not go by Tim, but he's the bad boy at school. He buys beer for the parties. He has a fake ID, whatever. He's the bad boy, the leather jacket, the hair, the shades. You can tell he's awesome. So perhaps in his little clique around school, he is a rock star. Oh man, he told the teacher to F off the other day. He, makes his money by selling things he probably shouldn't be selling, and he's a badass. So he's got that attitude. Extreme side of things, Rasputin, the mad, insane monk, whatever you want to call him, the holy healer for Tsar Nicholas II, healing their child. In incredibly lecherous, lascivious behavior, a badass, the most hated man in Russia at the time. He was close to the royal family. They elevated him from his position as just a peasant, crazy healer man. His attitude got him to the top, so to speak, until he was brutally murdered in about 7 different ways. You should look it up. So is it infamy? Which we could wrap up: infamy, attitude, passion, all those things. I think that is a huge contributor. I think a rock star comes with a certain amount of take no prisoners kind of attitude. But Tim doesn't play guitar. Rasputin may have, but there are no recordings, so who knows. So let's talk about being musical. Does that contribute to being a rock star? And I think that obviously it does. Well, we have over here Dan. He looks like a Dan. We have Dan. He's a guitar player in a local cover band. He plays 2 or 3 bars around town. People know who he is. And he has a certain amount of notoriety. He's known to booze it up a little bit, and he plays to the ladies in the crowd. Maybe a little lascivious on the side, some behind the scenes behavior, so he's got some attitude. A little bit in your face. To him, to himself in his own mind, he is a rock star. Okay? To a few people at that club or some people who see him around town, he's a rock star. Hell, that's what they probably call him on Facebook. Dan the Rock Star. The other side of that, you have someone like Nikki Sixx. Okay? I'm not the biggest Nikki Sixx fan in the world, but I think he's the true definition of a rock star. So on the musical side of things, Nikki Sixx is one of the world's biggest rock stars. He's died, he's come back, he's done heroin, he's done Probably Your Girlfriend. he is what a rock star is defined as, these days, almost from the 80s till now. I mean, he's been through it all, right? So we have notoriety, we have the attitude and the infamy, and we have the musical ability. So that would be probably the highest rock star classification. You narrow it down. Someone who plays music in a rock and roll band, has a badass attitude, and is well known. So I guess in that sense, there's your rock star classification. There's the narrow band version. But let's go back to Dan. Okay, Dan slugs it out. He records his own music by himself. He is known a little bit. Does he get to be called a rock star? He plays music, so he meets that requirement. Kind of has a badass attitude. He's more well known on the scale of notoriety to Bobby over here than he is to Genghis. So, where does he fall? Well, I think that is kind of the beauty of the word. Rock, which we use as a substitute for music. Basically, almost any person in a musical genre. And star, which is stardom, but also you think of things like starlight, famous, bright in the sky. Rock star. Well, there are many, many stars in the sky, and they all contribute to the beautiful sea of diamonds we see when we look up in the sky at night, when we look out into outer space, which I suggest everyone turn off YouTube and go do that. All those lights, while they are individually beautiful, would look not as spectacular if they were just by themselves, one little tiny pinlight in the sky. It's all of them coming together and working together as one, creating this universe, creating this whole rock and roll atmosphere that makes it amazing. So all in all, I think being classified as a rock star means you're part of something bigger, and you're part of something that is trying to change the way somebody views something. You have the attitude to push hard and be passionate and get people involved in your cause. I think if you do that, then you should be called a rock star. And I think that's my classification. I think it should be mainly used for the musical side of things, but I think anybody who works hard to change the world in a positive light and wants to make us all come together and become something great and push a cause, you can become a rock star. The broadening of the term is not a bad thing, even though some may say it makes us musicians feel less special. I don't think so. I think it's just a great way for us all to come together. So anyway, something to think about. How do you classify a rock star? What do you think of when you think of the term rock star? Let me know. Like, share, subscribe. Help us out. Tag a rock star in the video. Let's talk to some real ones. Everybody's got that friend who's a rock star. Everybody's got that local friend who in their own mind is a rock star. And everybody's got that one basement rock star they know. So let's get us all together. Thanks, guys.